Hi everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi everybody, good afternoon.
I think people are still joining. We can wait for 2 more minutes and then we will start at sharp 12:05.
Sure, Manya.
Okay, so first of all, hi everyone. Very good afternoon to all of you. I think we can start now. A couple of people have joined already. Okay, so today we will be working on a very new topic. I know that who have attended yesterday's class, we are left with some topics regarding the functions. But today we will be starting off with a fresh topic, which is pivot table. That is not linked with whatever we are left yesterday. If time allows, we'll try to complete that in the end of the class today. Otherwise, we will take that in the next class. But I just wanted to take everyone on the same page and we will start with the pivot table. I will quickly share a link with you all. And I'm also sharing my screen. Okay, so I have shared one link, which is a Google Sheet link. This is a data set which we will be using today for the practice purpose. You all can open that link in any of the versions which you are using, like Chrome, Edge, whatever, and just go on the file section and go on download and then click on Microsoft Excel. In this way, you will able to download the Excel version of it and where we will be doing the practice. So I'm giving you 2 minutes, just quickly do that. Let me know if you are having any issue in accessing the link which I have shared. I'm sharing the Excel file also in the chat in case you have any issue in accessing the Google Sheet. You can just directly try to access the Excel file. And I want everyone to download this. Disregard if you're attending the class for the first time, because this is how we usually practice. This is not something which I teach and you guys are just observing it. You have to do side by side the practice with me. So download it quickly. Is it done?
Yes, Manya.
So, Manya, these are two different one or the same one?
Yeah, it is the same.
Oh, okay.
I have just shared the Excel in case you are not able to download the Google Sheet. Okay, perfect. So the topic for today is pivot table and pivot charts. So before going into the pivot table, let's try to understand what exactly that thing is and why we use it. So if you just look into the data, you will realize that we have some thousands of rows, like 5,000 row of data we have. And now I ask you to give me some aggregated table. Like for an example, you tell me what is the revenue by department, or maybe you will tell me the average profit by region. So these are the aggregated table. Aggregation means, if you remember I think in the third or fourth class, we talked about aggregate function like sum, count, average, maximum, minimum. So if you are creating any table which is aggregating your entire data set, so pivot table is one of the good option of doing it. That does not mean that you can't do those things using the functions. You can, but in comparison to the time and how fast thing will work, it is more convenient in the pivot table. That is the first thing. Second is, when you will be creating a dashboard kind of thing, like you are creating a report where you have slicer, timeline. So pivot tables is going to be very convenient or familiar with those things, and it will filter the data based upon that. If you are creating a normal table, it will not work. I can quickly show you an example of that so that you can relate to what exactly I am saying. So this is one of the dashboard which I think the February batch has created, and this will be your next class basically. So if you see here, I have some pivot tables, and based on those pivot tables, I have some charts. So if you see here, I have some buttons, which is basically a slicer. If I click on this, in few seconds, you will realize that entire data set is changing. Can you see this? So basically, since I am creating a pivot table and then on that I'm creating a pivot chart, I have slicers and timelines, which will be compatible with that and help me to filter the data based upon the condition. This particular option you won't have in the normal table. That is why also we, work on the pivot tables a lot. Now let's look into that, like how we will create it. Let's go to the first question. We have to create a pivot table
Hello,
with,
ma'am.
yeah,
Naveen here. Sorry for interruption.
yeah.
So, may I know which version of Excel are you using, ma'am?
Which version of what? SQL you're asking?
No, Excel, man. I'm saying about
I have, I think 2022.
21, right?
Yeah, 21 or 22. I'm not sure.
Okay, fine. No, nowadays are all using on 365, no? So that's why I'm asking about that.
Yeah, I also have the 365 version because in my company I use that. But for the
Okay.
purpose, I'm not using it.
Fine, okay.
Cool. So let's go with the first question. We have to create a pivot table with department in rows and sum of revenue in values. What is this row and values? Let's look into that. How you will create the pivot table? You will either select the data like this, right? We are selecting the entire data set, or you can select the data like this. There are two differences in this, which we will check later on. But first of all, I'm just selecting the data by clicking on the column. Then I will go on insert. Then I have pivot table. Then you will click on from table and ranges. And then it will ask you where you want your pivot table to be placed, either in the new worksheet or in the existing worksheet. So right now, this is an Excel workbook, which is class 7. Now I want to create a new pivot table on this. Either you can create this inside the two sheets which you already have, operations data or practice task, or you can create a new worksheet out of this. So these are the two options which is there. You also see one box here which is called data model. When you go into the Power BI class, you will see something like a data model creation in Power BI in Excel, where you are dragging and dropping and creating the relation kind of thing. So for that, we have something called data model, but right now no need to worry about it. So I will just click on the existing new worksheet and I will click on OK. So you will realize that by default, it has added one page with the name of sheet 1. And then you will see that by default, there is one right hand side coming up with the name of pivot table fields. Now in the pivot table field, we have some values here and then we have something here as well. On the top of the Excel also, you will realize that there are two new tabs, pivot table analyzer and design. If you are out of this pivot table box, you will realize that you don't have it. So these are the changes you will see in your Excel version. Now, what is this thing? What you are seeing here? These are the column names of your table. So by default, whatever you have as the first row in the data set, that will be converted to the column name. So if I am referring a column department, so I have to refer department from here. So this is the names we have. Then we have something called filter rows, column and values. Basically the 4 parameter in which you will create the pivot table. What is exactly this is? You have the option to drag each and every column in these 4 values, and based upon that, you will able to create your pivot table. Now, let's try to put your department into the rows. So you will realize that there is one column created and each row is representing distinct value in the department. If you go back to your data, you will apply a filter here. If you just go into the drop down, you will realize that you have 4 departments, right? Customer support, logistic, procurement, and sale, that are the same department which you are seeing here. If I put this department into the column section, you will realize that there is one row created and each column is representing that same distinct department value. So what we can understand from this is that either you can put a value into the row or into the column. Based upon that, your structure of your pivot table will be designed. So let me put that into the rows pack. Now you have something called values. Any column which you want to aggregate, like you want to take a sum, average, count, maximum, minimum, any kind of those calculation which you want to do on some numerical number. Obviously, if you are taking a sum, it will be a numerical number. So any column like profit, revenue, sale, order ID count, all of these kind of columns will go into your value section. So as per the question, department and revenue. So I will take my revenue and put that into the value section. You will realize that for each distinct department, it is giving you the sum of revenue and you are seeing it right here. By default, if you are putting the revenue into the value section, it will be converted into the sum of revenue. So that is a default setting of pivot table. Any numerical value which you will put in the value section, that will be sum of revenue. Obviously, in future, we will learn that how we can change it to average or something. But for now, this is the basic understanding. Now, if you want to check like what exactly this number is representing, you can just go back to your data, try to apply a filter to your customer support, and then just select your revenue column like this. And on the bottom, you will see the sum, which is 3500,226 something. And that is the exact same number which you are seeing here. So for each of this distinct department ID, what is the sum of the revenue you are seeing in the pivot table. Now, how we can do it without creating a pivot table? Anybody can help me that if I am not aware of this pivot table, or maybe for some reason pivot table is not working, or maybe I don't want to create it inside the pivot table. Do I have any other option in which I can create similar view of data where I have unique values of department here and the sum of revenue using some formulas?
Manya,
Using
I think
aggregate
if
function.
Yeah. Monica, you are saying something?
I think if function we can use if
Only if?
Sum
and
function.
Yes, sum if function. Anybody else? Okay. So what I will do is I will apply first of all a unique function to get the unique values from the department column, which is this. So you will realize that it is giving you 4 distinct departments, and then you will apply a sum if that what is your range? My range is this. What is your criteria? My criteria is this. What is your sum range? My sum range is, I think, the G column. Let me just check. Yeah, G column, and that's it. Now I will drag it to get the same value. So if you see, these numbers and these numbers are matching. But if you are creating your tables like this, first of all, it's going to be a time consuming process. Right now, it is just a small function, so you are writing it. And since I am very fluent in writing the function, it's fast for me. Maybe it will take more time for you guys, first of all. Second is, if now I change your question and I ask, rather than the department wise sum of revenue, show me the region wise sum of revenue. So you have to change this function to region and then work around it. But in this case, you will just take the department out and you will bring your region back, and automatically your function will, like pivot table, will be updated. So in that sense, this will work a little bit faster. And the third is the same slicer and the timeline thing. These things can be filtered based upon that, but this table can't be done in that same way. But I'm just trying to show you that you can do it without the pivot table also, just using the function. Obviously, we will not use this approach because it's time consuming. Is this pivot table basics clear with you, like how we are creating it?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Still I doubt, ma'am. You mentioned in the role labels, right? There is a blank also is there, ma'am. Is it like I'm saying about this clean data, ma'am? Or still have to clean for that?
I didn't get you. Can you come again?
No, in the role labels, there is also blank represent, ma'am. Right?
Oh, okay.
And,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That is a
So,
good thing to ask. I will come to this.
yeah.
Okay. Any other question apart from this? Anybody?
No.
Okay. What is this row representing? Why I have this blank row here? Yeah,
Because you have selected columns and not the particular range.
exactly. So when I selected the data like this, so these are the rows which is selected by default. So the blank is representing that you have some blank value here, and corresponding to that, you don't have any region. So that is the blank representing in this. I can go ahead and like take it out blank, but you should also aware why this blank is there in the data. Now, if I will go ahead and try to create the pivot table like this by selecting the rows in the existing worksheet this time, I will take my sheet, paste it here, and that's it. Now again, I will do the same thing, department and revenue. You will realize this time you don't have the blank because you have selected your data till this particular place. Okay. Now, how these two things are different with each other and why we have two different ways of doing it. If by chance I realize that I need to add some more data to this table and there is one more, let me just take a different department so that you can see the difference very clearly. So I'm adding one more department XYZ and there is one revenue of 1,000 rupees for that department. Now if I go here I won't be able to see any changes. I won't be able to see that X, Y, Z because you are not refreshing your table. So always remember that if there is any update in your raw data, you are adding some new rows, you are removing some new rows, you are changing any number, you have to always refresh your pivot table. So I will click on this. I will go on pivot table analyzer, and then you have something called refresh. Then in the refresh also you have two things, refresh and refresh all. Refresh means only refreshing this pivot table. Refresh all means whatever pivot table you have in the entire workbook that will get refreshed. I will click on refresh all. You will see that the update is happened on the first pivot table, but it is not on the second one. Just to satisfy that maybe this pivot table is not refreshed or something, I will go on this one. I can again try to click on refresh all, but still I am not getting it. And the reason for that is very obvious, that when I selected the data like this, I have already considered this row. So when I refresh the data, pivot table will understand that you have added one new value XYZ with 1000 revenue. But when you have selected until this row, then this row is not included in that data. So you can't see any new value coming up. Obviously, if you change any number to these rows, that will reflect it. But if you are adding any new row to it, then it will not reflect it into your existing pivot table. So if in case you are using the second option, like you're selecting the rows and creating the pivot table, and still you want to update your pivot table for the new value, then you have to change the data source. So if you go on the pivot table here, it will show you change data source. You will click on that and it will tell you that I am selecting from A to Y from one row to 5001 row. But if you just realize the value which I have added, that is to 5002. So I will just go here. I will remove one and add two so that it will select this. And now you will able to see that value. So that is the difference, and that is how this blank will work. Is this make sense?
Yes, Manya, but I
Yes.
have one question. So, like the example that you have showed for the rows, what if we add something in the columns?
Then though you have to update, because see, you are selecting it like this. If you will select your data like this, then obviously the column will also taken care. But if you are specifying it till the I column, then you have to update in both of these cases, basically.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Manya, just a small question. You have in the second pivot table, you have added the XYZ, right? Where is that option you went to change the source from 1 to 2?
You will go on the pivot table analyzer, and then in the data you have refresh, and just on the right hand side of that you have to change.
Change data. Yeah, sure.
You will
Thank
click
you.
on that, and then you will change it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question, anybody?
No.
Perfect. Let's move to the second task. We have to create a region into the columns and unit processed into the values. So now how I will proceed further? I want to create one more pivot table. Should I go ahead, select the entire data and do the whole story again? No. If your data source is same and you want to create one more pivot table on that, so you can just go ahead, copy your pivot table and paste it again. And then you can make the changes in the second pivot table. I don't want department, I want region. I don't want revenue, I want unit process. So you will realize that there is no change in your first pivot table, but your second pivot table will be affected automatically. Now, this will only work if your data source is same. If I have two different tables and I want to create a pivot table on the second data set, obviously this will not work. Now you can easily see for each region what is the unit process, but the question was to put region into the columns. So I will put that into the columns. So it just transpose that data, and whatever was in the part of the first column, it has changed into the multiple columns, and you will see it right here. Obviously, I generally don't like this view because by the human eyes, this is not something which is very familiar, right? Because we used to see things like this. So that is why this is more familiar. But sometimes we add two values at a time, like one in the row and one in the column. So then the use case will be there. You should be familiar with both in that case. So this is also done. Any question about this? Sharon, which part you want me to release? Repeat, sorry.
Can you just show again, because I think I missed something.
Okay.
The add region column.
Okay, so I will just first of all go ahead, copy this pivot table, paste it here. I copy this, paste it here. Now I will take the department out, bring the region into the columns. I will take the revenue out, bring the unit processed into the values, and it will look like this.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Let's move to the next. We have to add a transaction date into the filter area, and let's see how this will work. I will just try to do that in the first pivot table itself. It is asking me to put your transaction date into the filter section. You will realize that in the top of your pivot table right now it is showing you all because we have not applied any pivot filter to it. You can just go into this and you will see that it is giving you a list of all the dates which you have. In case you want to take any date out, you can just click on select multiple items and then you can just remove the one which you don't need. And in this way, you will able to filter some of the dates. And you will see this funnel icon here, which is a representation that the filter is applied. If it is just showing all the way it was previously, then it means there is no filter applied. You have the option to apply it, but right now there is none. And otherwise it will show you multiple items, which is a representation. Yes, the filter is there. But always remember that whatever filter you are applying using this filter option, that will only be applicable to individual pivot table. That is not going to impact my further pivot table to it because that is a filter for this pivot table, which is pivot table 1 in this case. Okay.
Yeah, I have a doubt. So can we add two or more filters?
Yes, you can. Can you see? It is keep on adding it. In the same way, you can just keep on selecting it. Okay. Now, let me give you one question before we go into this.
I'm
Can
sorry,
you-
one more.
Yeah.
So, what is the use of adding, two more pivot tables in a single page?
Sometimes you are creating a report in which you want to show the revenue by the product and also revenue by the region, or maybe cost by some other parameters. So maybe there is one page which is a full-fledged report of your raw data set, and you want to see multiple things at a time.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let me give you one question. Can you show me the cost? Let me write the question here. Sum of, like basically total cost rather than sum of cost. Total cost, and second column as total profit, and third column as total unit processed, right? Based upon region. So I want to see one pivot table which will have these four parameters. First is region, then total cost, total profit, and total unit process. And it should be a part of one single table.
Can we do reason take it as a row, ma'am? And total cost, total profit, and total another one
Unit process.
unit are taken to values, ma'am.
Okay. Can you try that in your Excel version?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Prakash, you were saying that you have some question. Can you put that in the chat? Priyanka is saying it's done. Perfect. Done. Okay. Tejaswini is also saying done. Anybody is facing difficulty in preparing this? I think everyone is pretty clear with this. Okay. I think Prakash is saying how to add department, revenue, region all together. Prakash, I will come to that. I will come to your question. Okay, cool. Let me show you how you will work around it. Again, I no need to go into the full process again. I can just directly go ahead, copy any of this pivot table. Let me just copy this one, right? I will paste it here. I will bring my region to the columns. I already have unit processed. I will take cost and I will take the profit. But I will follow the same structure as the question is asked. First, I should have cost, then profit, and then unit process. So I can take this and drag it to the end so that it will follow the same structure as the question is asked for. So in this way, it will be done very quick. If you will be doing this with the help of the function, then it will take some time because you will apply one function for cost, then one for profit, then one for unit processed. But in the pivot table, it is just, I think, 10 seconds of exercise, right? Now, just to show you one more quick thing, if you feel that I don't want to see these decimal values or maybe 2 decimals or more or something, you can quickly select this range and you can go ahead and try to increase or decrease the decimal from this. So in the same way you change the number formatting of any of the cell, you can just change the number formatting of the pivot table also by selecting the date. Okay, so it will work exactly in the same way. Perfect. Now let me go back to the Prakash question, how to add department, revenue, region all together. You can add multiple aggregated value, which is like cost, profit, unit process. And you can also add multiple values into the rows and column also. So for an example, the question is to add department and region, which is both two are the alphabetical values. So you can add those two things into the rows like this. Can you see region and then department? And then you are bringing revenue into the value. I'm just following your question, what you have asked for. So you will realize that for each individual region, you have 4 different department value because I am following the same thing in the rows. First I have region and then after that I have department. So for each region, I have different department values here and it is showing me the separate sum of revenue for each of this department. And also on the top of that, it is showing me the sum of the total revenue for the East region. And the same way, I can just see the value here. So this is the first way of seeing the data like this, or you can bring the department into the column so that each individual row is for region. And then there are 4 different columns for 4 regions which you have, and then you have a grand total value in the end. So in this way also, you can just view that data. Is this make sense, Prakash? Okay. Now let's try to observe one thing. Can you guys see there is a minus kind of sign in front of this east? Can you see this? This is a sign of expand and collapse. What does that mean? Whenever you will add multiple values into the row section, Excel will try to create an hierarchy for you. What is hierarchy? That first of all, you will have a big value. Then you will drill your data down. Then you will again drill your data down and so on. So this kind of hierarchy, Excel will try to create for you. So if you will click on this minus sign, it will try to collapse that option so that you can only see the sum of the East region. If you further want to drill into the data and see the details of it, you can just expand it by clicking on the plus sign. So you will only find this icon if you have multiple values into the row section. So I can switch it off to just see the revenue by the region, or I can just open it to see it by the department. Is this make sense? This icon? Okay. Now the question is, if I have, let's consider I have 10 different regions. So will I be, if I have to expand it, will I be opening it one by one like this, the way I'm doing now? No. You have a direct option in which you just click a button and everything will be expanded or collapsed. How you will do that? You will click on this, go on the pivot table analyzer, and then I think in the, yeah, I think it's here. Can you see this? Active field, expand and collapse. If I will be on this particular section, if you will click on the number part, you won't be seeing that option open because you can't expand or collapse this. The plus sign which you have here is that is on the East region. So once you click on this, you will see that you have this option, expand field and collapse field. I will click on expand field and it will automatically expand each and every part. You can click on collapse and it will try to collapse it like this.
Hi, Manya. I have one question.
Yeah.
So just I wanted to cross-check that we added one department, right? XYZ. Why it is showing under only the blanks? Why not the other regions?
Because I have not added any other information for it. Can you see this?
Okay, because of that. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know the region of that particular XYZ department. So the region for that is coming as blank. And inside that blank, you have two categories. So inside this blank rows of region, I have two categories. One is I have a department XYZ and I have a blank rows. So that is what pivot table is representing here. So the first blank value is representing the region because if you collapse it, you will see that it is a blank, which is coming from the region section. So it means it is talking about this. When I expand it, again, you will see that there is one more blank. That is blank is coming from the department part. So you have two things in the blank region, which is XYZ and this blank. If I add some region here, for example, I add central here because I know that central is not there in this. So I add a central here. I will go on this pivot table. I will refresh and you will realize that central has XYZ and blank region has blank rows, which is this data. All of this.
Got it. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other question on this?
Manya, somehow I couldn't see the active inactive button.
Can you click on this part of the pivot table?
Yeah,
That-
I have clicked the text east,
Hmm.
and I couldn't see it. I can see group selection and group,
Hmm.
but then I don't see expand or collapse.
Do you have two things into the rows?
Yes,
Like-
I do. Yes.
Okay. If that is the case, so sometimes I also, felt this thing in previous classes that this option is disabled.
Is it
So-
Excel due to Excel versioning?
Yeah, due to Excel, it can be a possibility, or maybe if you have not logged in into the Microsoft account, then also it can be a possibility.
Okay, fair enough. No worries, I can figure it out. No problem.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let me show you one more thing. I have two things into the rows. I am seeing the value like this, but what if I don't like this view? Maybe I want to keep this department into a separate column because that will be more readable for me. So you have some options. If you go into the design section, you have some layout options also. So first of all, you have grand total and subtotal layouts. For example, I don't want to see this number, or maybe I don't want to see this number which is on the bottom. So I can just switch off the rows and columns grand total, or I can switch off the subtotals as well. So these things you can do. Subtotal means this value, which is a subtotal of each individual region, and grand total is the sum of the entire data set. So you can just switch it off or on from this particular option. Okay. Now the second option which we have is to separate this department into the separate column. So I will go on the pivot design section again. Then I have something called report layout. I will click on that, and then you have three options. By default, the pivot table will be in the compact form where there is one column which is representing both of these two rows values. Then the second option is the outline form, in which it will try to separate your region and the department column like this. And then you have one more column which is a tabular form. You will realize that right now east, this particular part is blank. When I change it to the tabular part, this particular data set will be copied one row above, which will be more better way of visualizing the data. Can you see this? For east region, this is the data. For north region, this is the data. So basically three options: compact, outline, and then you have tabular. Now, if I click on the tabular once again, then you will realize that this particular part is blank because all of this is representing the region section. But you also have an option to repeat that all item to all the labels. So you have something called repeat all item labels. It means whenever there is a east, just try to show me this. So if you see, this is, I consider a good option in terms of viewing the data because it's very clear that I'm talking about east region. Then these are the department, this is the revenue. So from this layouts, you can just change it. Then you have something called do not repeat, which is basically the opposite or what we have initially. This is the version. Then we have something called blank rows. If you want to insert any kind of blank rows to your pivot table to maybe add any information or something like that. So you have something called insert a blank row. So it will be a pivot table, but you can insert it. If you try to do it manually, like insert a blank row, maybe it will give you an error because inside a pivot table, you can't normally insert the blank rows. So that is why it has a separate value here to insert it or to remove it if it is required. Is this layout part clear with everyone? Yes, no? Perfect. Now you also have something called the row header, column header. If you feel that you don't want to see all of this, you can just take this row header and column header out. You can change the colors from here as per the reportings which you have. So these are the design and this is in the analyzer part. Now let's move to the next part of it. This is something which you guys will do quickly. I think this is the same one which we have previously, so it's fine. Show the total revenue by department, which we have already made here. So we can skip this for now. Now let's move to the second question. Here, now from in this particular point, you will realize that we will start using something other aggregation also. We have to count the number of transaction by region. So if you see in the data, we have the transaction ID. So based upon the each region, I have to check what is the count of the transaction ID. But since it's a numerical column, by default, it is going to give you a sum, as I have mentioned earlier. Let's check it. I will just quickly copy this pivot table, paste it here, region and transaction ID. So you will realize that it is a sum of transaction ID. But the sum is not the correct aggregation level because Sum is going to give you the sum of these values, but I want to see how many, which is basically the count of these values. So by default, it will give you sum. But if you see, there is a small arrow here in the sum of transaction ID. If you click on that, it will show you a lot of options here. From this, you have something called view value field setting. If you click on that, it will open this box for you, which will allow you to change the summarized value field by. Right now it is sum, you can just make it to a count, and then it starts showing you the count of it. In the same way, you can just make average, minimum, maximum, and you have some standard deviation also, like standard deviation, variations, and all of this. But this is how you will just use it. Does this make sense? Okay, cool. Now you guys will try this one. Show the average profit by department. How you will show the average profit by department. Ramesh is saying, can't we merge and keep a region in one center? Region in one center. I didn't get what exactly you were saying. Region, keep region in one center. I didn't get your question. Can you try to unmute and explain that to me if that will help? Okay, just quickly try this average profit by department.
Anya, can you just share the link of the sheet?
Link of the sheet? Yeah, I can share.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's in the chat, Ajay. Priyanka is saying it's done. Isha is also saying it's done. Okay. Sabha is also saying it's done. Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Manya?
Yes.
So it's just to understand, I'm asking it like how we go back and click right click on value field. How do we do for count? It's the same way we will select average, right? In the departments column.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Can I show you or still you are trying?
Done, Manya. I've already done.
Manya, I
Yes.
don't want grand total in my table.
Just go on design, go on grand total, and switch off the grand total for rows or columns, whatever it is. So if you are bringing it into the rows, so it will be a row, otherwise column. Yeah. Okay, let me just show you how to do
Manya,
that. Yeah.
can you tell me how to bring pivot? It
How
is
to-
not coming. Like,
Okay, no problem. Select the data, first of all, like this.
okay.
Go on insert.
No, it's done in pivot only that options are not coming.
This box is not coming?
Yeah, yes.
I know. So see, if I just cross that box from by myself, then you won't see if I'm clicking on the pivot table. You can just right click and then you can say show field list.
Okay.
Or you will click on the pivot table and then you can go on the pivot table analyzer, and then here you have an option of field list.
Field list. Oh, yeah, done now. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Manya.
Yeah.
I'm not able to insert any rows. So I'm just trying the same thing that you did, but like it's not letting me do it. Like it is not doing anything.
Insert the rows inside the pivot table or inserting in the sheet directly?
Inside the table.
Okay. I will check it. Just give me a second. Okay. So average profit by department. So I will go here. I will bring the department and I will bring the profit, and then I need an average of it. So I will go on sum of profit, value field setting, and I will change it to average. So it's showing me the average profit this time, and it will change the number like this. It is showing me somewhere around 6 decimal places, which I don't like. So I will select it and try to reduce the decimal places. This is the individual department-wise average profit. Okay, now I'm coming back to Isha's question. How to insert the row to it. I will go on the design, then insert blank line after each item. I think I know why it is not doing it. Yeah, this is what you are also seeing, Isha, I think. That if you click on that.
Yes, because we have created one table from another table.
No, because you don't have multiple values like this. Can you see? We have two things into the region section here, like into the row section here, row and department. So that is why it is giving me the option to insert it. But here I have the one single row value. Maybe that is the reason. I'm not 100% sure, but maybe that is how it is working.
Yeah, one more question. Like I have edited
but for
and
me,
I want
it
to
is
go like original stays. Then how I can go? Like,
I didn't get you. Can you come again?
something like in pivot only. I have did some changes. Okay, then but I want to go now original.
You can press Ctrl Z and see if it is like undo those things with whatever you have done. Ctrl Z if you are using Windows.
Okay.
Otherwise, Command Z if you are using MacBook. Yes, Isha, you were saying something. Isha, you are on mute if you are saying something.
I was saying just give me 1 second. I was just trying the other one also, the region and the department both in the rows one. So just give me.
Okay. So average is also done. Refresh pivot table, we have already seen how we are refreshing the pivot table. And after that, we have something called pivot charts and everything. But before that, I just wanted to discuss one more thing. Okay, so let me go back to my first pivot table. I will just paste it here. I will take the filter out. I am seeing department wise the sum of revenue. First of all, I don't like this word sum of revenue. I have the option to change this to total revenue. So you can even rename your values the way you want it. For example, row labels is also something which I don't like. So you can just go ahead, remove it and edit it as per your requirement. That is a small change. Now what else I can do? If you see here, these numbers are very close, like 35, 34 and all of that. So if I need to check on the basis of the percentage of the total, how I can do it. So I have the function where I will say this value divided by this, which is the total, and it will give you the percentage. But pivot table says that don't do any kind of calculation like this outside the pivot table. We have the option to change it inside the Excel itself. So how you will do it? You will drag your revenue one more time into the value section. So same revenue column twice into the values. So in the first, it is showing you total revenue because you have made the changes. And then the second one, it is percentage of total. Now I can go on the percentage of total drop down, value field setting, and I can change this show value as, then you have a drop down here, and then you can make it percentage of grand total. So it starts showing you what is the percentage value of this number in comparison to the total value. So it is 25, 24.90, 24.92, 25.81. Does this make sense?
Yes.
So either why I am bringing it 2 times, because I want to see the total value and also I want to see the percentage of total side by side. If I need only the percentage of total, you can just take this out. That is not necessary that you will always have 2 values. It is totally up to you, like how you want it basically. Now in the same way for the profit also, I want to see percentage of total. So I just go here, this show value as percentage of grand total. That's it. And you will see that it is showing you the percentage of grand total in comparison to the profit. I can also bring the profit here so that I can see the values side by side. Now,
Can you show one more time how you bring this percentage of total?
yes. I will bring the profit into the column, go into the drop down, value field setting, show value as, drop down, percentage of grand total, and okay. That's it.
Okay.
Yes?
Manya,
Hmm.
the earlier one also you took a grand totals percentage. So why it is different now?
Because this is percentage of grand total of revenue column and this is for profit. There are 2 different columns.
Where is the profit column here?
Yeah, so this is the profit column and this is the revenue column, percentage of total of revenue. So revenue is a different column, profit is a different column. I will bring the profit here. So you will see that.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Values are different.
Exactly, values are different. Yes, is this clear, everyone? Sharon, which part you want me to repeat? This percentage of total thing?
No, you already done it, so no need again.
Alright.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Now, what if I have this type of table and I want to take a percentage of total? It is showing me this. Let me just give me a second. Let me just show. Okay. Now, I have region, then department, and the sum of revenue. I know this particular number is representing the sum of revenue for each region customer support, right? Now I want to see the percentage of this number in comparison to the percentage of total of east region. So in the east region, I have 4 different departments. I need to check what is the contribution of each department in this specific region. Now, if I bring this region revenue once again into the rows, I go on the value field setting. I say show value as, and I will say percentage of grand total. You will realize that this number is not correct because right now it is giving me the percentage of this value divided by the grand total, which is this. So that is why it's 6% right now. But I want to see the percentage of this number divided by the percentage of this. So this is not a grand total. This is a total of this particular group which we have. So in that case, we have options to specify that rather than percentage of grand total, give me the percentage of parent row total. What is parent row total? It is basically, this is your parent group. So this is your child group. So basically you have two things, right? Region and department. This is your child group of this particular parent. So if you are saying percentage total of parent group means percentage value of this number in comparison to this total. Now, for this value, which is the total of each region, the parent group will be the total of this value. So which is 24.47. How it is calculated? This value divided by this value. 24.47%, which is this number. And this is this number. Are you able to understand it?
Yes.
So we have three numbers here. The total of the entire data set, the total of revenue, which is this, then the total of each individual region, then the total of department inside that region. So for department, it is giving me the percentage of total of the department in comparison to the region. For region, it is giving me the percentage of region total in comparison to the entire data set total. So this is slightly interesting to see other options also. So grand total, row, column total, row total, percentage of, in this you can even specify out of other columns, and the percentage of parent row total. You have a couple of more, you can check. Yeah.
Manya, how can I bring department to column?
Department to column, just drag it.
I drag it, but it is coming down only. Like in same column, it is coming downside.
You are saying this is how it should come. If you are bringing region into the rows and department into the columns.
Okay.
Is it the same for you or it is different?
Oh, 1 minute. Yeah, it is done now.
Okay. Okay. You also have some more interesting topic. Let me give me a second. Okay, I think this is also something which we have not touched base yet. Okay, if you are bringing a date data type, if you remember in the first class of Excel, I discussed different data type. We have date data type, we have numerical data type. So if you are bringing any date data type like transaction date, so by default, date will have 4 values. It will have a year, quarter, month, and then you will have a date. So if I am bringing the transaction date into the rows, by default, it will have 4 parameters: year, quarter, month, and transaction date itself. You will see the plus sign here, which you can just click to expand it. And you will see the quarter, then you expand the quarter, you will see the month, you will expand the month, and you will see the date, right? So basically you are drilling it down that individually the sales or maybe the revenue is this. If I want to check it by quarter, this is the division, then by month, and so on. This will automatically be there. The only possibility of not seeing it like this is that maybe your data here is not defined as a date. That is the only thing where you can't see it like that. Otherwise, it will by default be there. Now, what I want to see is, I don't want year, I don't want quarter, I don't even want the transaction date. Let me bring the quarter maybe, or maybe the year. I think year will be better. First of all, what is this representing here? At less than 0101 2022. What is this? This is basically the date value which you have in front of this 1000. You don't have any date here. That is why it is representing that the whatever date you will have here, that is going to be less than this date or maybe more than this date. But this date is not representing any specific date value. So let me just take this out so that it is not giving me any kind of confusion. So this is showing me month-wise sum of revenue. I will take this year at the first so that I can see year and then the month. Now I can do one thing. I can go here and expand it. So for each individual year, I can see the month and then the revenue of this. Now, I want to calculate the percentage change in the revenue in comparison to the previous month. So for January, there is no change because you don't have previous data. But for February, it should be February in comparison to January. For March, it should be March comparison to February. This is what I want to see. How I can do that? I will bring my revenue once again into the value section. I will go on the value field setting, show value as, and here you will see that you have something called percentage difference from, percentage of running total, rank the values and all of this. You can check if you have any such value which help you to calculate this. I think the percentage difference from month and then this will work. Can you see? Percentage difference from month of transaction date previous. What does that previous means? Whatever value I'm calculating right now, whatever previous month I will be having, give me the percentage difference from there. And that's it. Now check. I am saying that there is a 10% decrease in the revenue in comparison to January in the February. So 10% of this will be 62,000 something. Yeah, it will be correct, but I can just check it. So this minus this divided by this. No, I think it's not picking up the correct value. Okay, just give me a second. Sometimes if you try to calculate the percentages using the formulas and you refer the cell inside the pivot table, sometimes we feel that the values are not picked up correctly. So if you wanted, you can just copy this and paste it here as a value, and then you can try to calculate the percentage, which is this minus this, and then whatever I will get out of this number divided by this. Yes. So this is 10.99%, which is exactly here. It is showing me minus here because it has decreased in comparison to the previous value. So this is just a formula which I am using here, that what is the difference between these two numbers divided by the previous value, so that I can see what is a percentage change basically. So with the help of this number, I can easily see where my revenue is increasing in comparison to the previous month or where it is decreasing in comparison to the previous month. Is this make sense or not? Yes, no?
Yes, Manya.
Yes, Manya.
Perfect. So this is something which you guys have to explore by yourself. Let's just try and see what all options we have here. We have very good options in this percentage things which help us in calculating things very fast. So just try to do that as an homework today. Okay. Perfect. So this is done. Now we have to move to the pivot charts part and slicer thing. But before that, we will quickly take a 10 minutes of break, and after that, we will continue with this. Okay, let me just set a timer. Okay, I'm just muting. Yeah, Dhaval, do you have any question?
See, just now I have joined this. So, is this already started the class? Because my class is from 4th July, I guess. So, is this
Yeah.
start from scratch or something? Demo lecture for me? Because I'm
No, we are already on the 7th class, I think.
okay. So
Yeah.
today, so how would like this is because today I'm getting the link for this like.
Yes, so obviously we are already very far behind from the basic things, so maybe you will not relate to these topics. What I suggest is that you will have the recording for each and every session in your LMS portal. Just try to cover those things before coming to the next class. So every Saturday, Sunday, we meet at the same time, 12 to 2, to
Okay.
discuss these topics basically.
But the things when I joined, they said me to join on the 4th July.
What do you mean by 4th July? Like,
The batch will be start from 4th July. They said.
okay. 4th July, my bad. I think I misheard something. So you have not enrolled yet. You will be enrolling in July batch, right?
Because today the which is the link is shared, it's written Excel demo class, something is there.
Yes. So yeah, I think I get a message from the team that people who will be joining the new batch in the July, they have the demo today. So whatever you are learning today, that will be covered in your course later on also. So this is just
Okay.
for the demo part for you, so that you
Okay.
can just understand how class will work basically.
But in LMS, there are all the topics are available. But I am trying to log in over there. I logged in, but there would be some error. It states like the privacy settings, something
Yeah,
error.
so basically, if you have not, like if your batch has not started yet, you won't be able to access anything right now. Because your batch will start, then your classes will be happening, then you will access to the recording, the content and everything. That is why.
But her sir told me that you can access the demo lectures. The demo
Yeah, so
stuffs are available.
this is the demo lecture which you have right now. So this is
Okay.
the only demo lecture which you can access. Yes.
Okay, so if I can log in over their LMS and I can access these things or not afterwards, like.
I'm not sure how this thing will work. You have to check with hers regarding this.
Okay, fine. Sorry, so because see, right now I'm not understand because I'm in middle of something. It's going on some, so that's the reason
You
I'm.
can just ask him. Maybe he will give you an access to another demo session in the upcoming. But I really don't know how this demo thing work. So you can just
Okay.
ask him. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, thanks.
Cool.
Dhaval, this is just the demo for you. You can experience the class, but once the classes start officially for you on 4th of July, then you can access the complete videos for the demo or the classes.
From LMS.
Yes,
From LMS.
yes, yes.
Okay.
It's just to experience that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Dhaval.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Sagar, you are saying that Excel sheet from class 1 and 2. If you are a part of the WhatsApp group, so you will see those sheets there. Otherwise, I will just share it once again in the end of the class, so don't worry about that. Cool. I am just muting myself. You guys can stay here. Once the timer will be done, we will start again. Yes, I think break is over. I am back. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Manya.
Okay, so any questions so far, or should we start with the next thing? Okay. Now let's start with the pivot charts and how we can create calculated fields and slices and so on. First of all, what is this pivot chart? We have heard something called creating normal charts, bar charts, and all of that. What is this pivot chart is all about? So in Excel, we have two types of charts which you can create. One is on the normal data set when you have a table, rows, columns, and you are creating a chart out of it. And the second is a pivot chart which created on the pivot tables. How these two things are different? In the same way, the normal table and the pivot tables are different. In the pivot table, you can create slicers, timeline in future, and you can filter the data. But in the normal table, you can't. In the same way, in the pivot chart, you can connect that to the slicers, timelines. The normal charts can't be created on that same way. It is very easy to create those things. I will just create one pivot table first of all. I will select the entire data. Then I will go on the pivot table analyzer, and then you have something called pivot chart. You click on that. It will give you the option which type of chart you need. For example, I need a column chart. I will click on that and I will click on OK. You will realize that your chart has been created here. I will just see on this. You will see a filter like a funnel kind of and drop down here, which will allow you to filter it. This thing you won't find in your normal charts. So since I have a filter option for the department in this, that is why I have it here also. If I am saying I am only looking for customer support and logistic, if I update the pivot table, my chart will also be updated. So it is going to be connected with each other. So that is how the charts things work in this case. So creating a bar chart, line chart, and pie chart is going to be exactly the same the way we have created. So bar chart we have already created. I will show you the line chart. Line chart is for the monthly trends for revenue. So I have created already here the revenue. I will select this pivot table, pivot chart. I'm going to take a combo chart for it. What is combo chart? If you are creating a line chart, it means both of your lines, like both of your number. I have two things here, sum of revenue and sum of revenue 2, which is percentage of the previous revenue part. So if you are creating a line chart, it means both of these numbers should be on the line chart. But if you are creating a combo chart out of it, so you can create one as a bar and second one as a line. So if I do that, you will realize that one is coming as a bar and one is coming as a line. In this, you observed a major problem here, which is that this line is very extreme on the x-axis because this is a very small number and the revenue is a big number. So if you are creating a combo chart, then you have to always make sure the axis which is representing the numbers that should match. If those numbers are drastically different with each other, then we use a secondary axis. So I click on this pivot chart. I will go on the design section. I will click on change chart type. So in the same way, if you click on the pivot table, you have pivot table, analyzer, and design. So if you click on the pivot chart, again, you have pivot chart analyzer, design, and this time you also have format. Format is changing the titles and all of this. So design is basically where you can click on this, and here you will see something called secondary axis. I will click on this and make it a secondary axis. You will realize that 9 is coming perfect because you will see that on the right hand side also you have some numbers representing the percentage in this case. You will see that in this part the line is not connected because here we don't have the two numbers. I don't know anything for total. I don't know anything for this, and that is why these numbers are not matching with each other. And here we have January, which is this number at the bottom. So that is how you can create a line chart, combo chart, or the secondary axis. Now, the good part about this. The expand and collapse option, which you have in the pivot table for multiple values when you have in the rows, the same approach follows in the chart also. If you see in the previous chart, you don't have any plus or minus icon here because there is only one thing into the rows. But this time I have two things into the rows. One is year, second is month. You will see this expand and collapse option. If I going to collapse it, you will see the data by the year and that's it. If I'm going to expand it, it's going to show you the data by the month. So that is how these pivot charts is super interesting because it's giving you these kind of functionality which is not there in the normal charts. Also, the only bad part about that is that it's two-step process. If it is a normal chart, you will directly create a chart and that's it. Whenever you are creating a pivot chart, you have to always first create a pivot table out of this. So whatever visualization you want to see, you will first create a pivot table and then you will create a chart out of that. Okay. So this is how the line chart will work. How the pie will work exactly the same way. Revenue
Hello, ma'am.
distribution. Yeah.
Can you show us the line chart again, ma'am? I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see, ma'am, that number is going on like 7 like that, ma'am, 7 million. Can it, yeah, the number, ma'am. Is it like that only, ma'am? Can you break down to smaller letters, smaller number also, ma'am? Like 7 million to 1 million, like that, ma'am.
Yeah, so basically rather than showing 7, this, you can just
Yeah.
show 7M per million. You can do
Yeah.
that. That is
So how can you get? Yeah.
that is called number formatting. You will go on the
Okay.
pivot table. You will go on sum of revenue, value field setting, go on number format, go on custom, and here you can specify. There are different
Okay.
types of formatting for it, which you can
Okay.
use. So if you need it into the millions, you have to add a comma, then you will put a M, and then you will put this. So it's going to convert those numbers into the millions or thousands or something like that.
Okay.
The formatting of this is slightly different. So I generally suggest that go on Google and check it once before applying because I'm not sure
Fine.
like how that will work. So it's working here, which is fine. But yeah, I suggest that always check it on Google before doing it.
Fine. Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
I have one more question. So, Manya, like if we will just paste this chart to some other like sheet or to some other like worksheet, then what exactly like will it work the same way?
Yes, it will work. If you are pasting this chart anywhere inside this workbook, so class 7 workbook, it can be on any sheet, it will work because it will have a reference created. I can show you. I can just Control Z to cut this. I am pasting it on a new page, right? Now I will go ahead to the pivot table. I will try to do something here. Let me maybe try to collapse this, right? I will go to sheet 2. You will see that updated.
But if we are going to some other workbook, it will not work.
It will work if your sheets are connected on OneDrive. So if you are using a Microsoft 365 account, so it will be every sheet will be hosted online in the SharePoint folder or in the OneDrive. Then the connections will work. But there are a lot of things which you have to keep in my mind. For example, both of those sheets will be in your drive. You can't paste it on someone other's drive sheet. For example, I share one sheet with you. Then I am the owner of that sheet, so you can't paste it. Then if you are doing it also, you should make sure that you have required access. So there are a couple of things which you have to keep in the mind in that time. But that is also doable, but yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's move to the pivot pie chart. Revenue distribution by the region. So this is the revenue. No, this is the region, but not the revenue. Let me just change this to revenue, right? Now I want to create a pie, select everything. This pivot chart, pie, click on the pie one, that's it. Right? Since I'm selecting this entire data, don't think that the grand total will also be a new value because when you are creating a chart out of this, Excel understand this thing that this is not a department value or a region value. This is a grand total value which will not be there in the chart itself. So you will only be seeing these 6 values. Since central is a very small number, you won't be able to see that orange line coming up here. But for all the other 4, you have it. Then you have some options in the chart element here, which can show you data labels. You can just specify you need it center, you need it outside or whatever. So each and every chart which you have, you always see this plus sign, which is for the chart element, which help you to, change things in this, like data labels, data bars, and all of this. This thing we will check in the next class when we will create the dashboard thing. But today I'm just trying to show you that how you can create it if you have to create that basically. Perfect. Now, this group thing I will explain in a bit. Yeah. Yes, Isha, you have any questions?
Yeah, so Manya, by that mean, like you said that grand total cannot be added, right?
Mhm.
So there is no option to add it.
No. Because see, if you are, what is your end goal of creating this pie chart? My end goal is that I want to see the distribution of this total in based off this. If I'm including this grand total in the pie chart, so my half pie will be showing the total value itself, right? Because the sum of this and this will become 2x of this number. So that the end goal will not be fulfilled in that case.
But this will work in the bar chart, right?
No, it will not work in the bar chart either.
Okay, understood.
Yeah. If you will create a normal chart, then it will work.
Understood.
Because in the normal chart, it will not understand that it's a grand total, which is a sum of this value. It will just consider as a value itself. So then it will work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Monica is saying, how do we know or understand which chart we can use? A very good question. Each of this pivot table will have its own name, like pivot table 1, pivot table 2. If I click on this pivot chart, I go on the pivot chart analyzer and then I go on change data source. Then it will show you that on which particular data source that pivot table is created, which is basically the raw data set. But when you try to create a slicer here, and I try to make a report connection, it will show you if there is multiple pivot tables. So it will basically a list of pivot tables. So you should have the reference for it, like it is pivot table 1, pivot table 2, and so on. I will come to that and then we will discuss this. But it is a good question to take. Perfect. I will take this grouping in a bit. Let's first try to work on this one. Very, very, very important thing. Just focus here. Whatever we have seen so far, like any column, any chart, everything was there in my data, right? I have revenue, I have profit, I have cost. What if I want to see something called margin percentage, which is profit by revenue inside a pivot table? So obviously, what is a normal person will think? They will think that I will create a margin column here, which will show me profit by revenue, and then I will update the pivot table and so on. But pivot table says that don't update anything in the raw data set, but still you can calculate things inside the pivot table. Let's discuss. I will just go ahead and copy this pivot table, right? And I will paste it here. So I'm just randomly copying any pivot table. I need margin percentage, which is profit divided by revenue. If you click on this pivot table, you will go on the pivot table analyzer. It will give you an option called field item and set. If you go into the drop down of this, it will show you an option called calculated field. If you click on this, it will open a box for you. Now you have an option to name your pivot table, like the field name and the calculation. My name is margin percentage. Now how the calculation will be done? Profit divided by revenue. So I will search for profit. I will click on insert field divided by revenue, which is revenue, this column, insert. Click on add, click on OK. So you will see automatically percentage of margin is here. It's a percentage, so I can just convert it into the percentage value. Now if I go on the value fields, pivot table fields here, in the list of the columns also, you will start seeing something called margin percentage. How it is showing you? Let me just show you the profit. So it is showing you the division value of profit by the revenue. If you will manually also calculate this, no, it's not giving us. But yeah, you can just directly also see it's something like 10 and some number, and this is 34. So it will be somewhere around 30% of the data. It is 3x technically. So this is how you will calculate it. But is I only able to see this margin percentage in this pivot table, or it will be created on the other also? Let's go back and check. If I click on this pivot table, you will see margin percentage. If I click on this pivot table, you will see margin percentage. If I click on the first pivot table even, you will see margin percentage. If I click on this pivot table, you will not see the margin percentage. If you remember, this pivot table is created by selecting the rows like this, right? That is why it does not have the blanks. And all the other pivot tables are created by selecting the entire data set. So if your raw data source, basically this data source is exactly same, it is basically this, then whatever calculated field you are creating in one pivot table, that will be reflected in all the other pivot tables also. But if your data source is different, I know that still I'm selecting these value itself, but while selection, I made a difference, right? I'm not saying that any column, any row in this A column. I'm saying only till 5002. 5002. So data set, like Excel is considering these two data ranges as a separate data ranges. Then you won't be able to see that calculated column. Is this make sense or not? Yes, no?
Yes.
Perfect. So always remember this. You can create one pivot, one calculated field, use it anywhere if your data source is same. If it is different, you won't be able to see it. So if I now need to add the margin percentage in my first table, I will just go here, click on this, you will see it here. I want to add it here, I will click here, margin percentage, and that's it. So in that way, you can just do it. If you are seeing that why the format is different, that is just the number format. If you will convert everything into the percentages here, that will work. Okay, it's going to show the same. Yes.
Manya, if you don't mind, just show me that navigation, no, from where you have added that person.
Yeah, so pivot table analyzer, then field item and sets, and then calculated field.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I think if you just search it on the top, yeah, it's not giving us, I think, that option. You see. Calculate now. No, it's not giving us. So you have to just use this one, calculated.
Sure, Manya.
Okay. Now, if your formula is created, like this particular formula is already created, how the other person will understand? If I am sharing this sheet with you guys, how you will understand that formula calculation, right? This is something which is created by me. So if you click on the value pivot table analyzer, and again you will go on that, it will enable one option called list formulas. If you click on that, it's going to create a new page for you, which is going to show you each and every formula, whatever is created. So it is showing you that there is one margin percentage created, profit by revenue, and if there is any kind of note or something, when the cell is updated, whatever, like any new information will be there. So right now there is only one formula created by me, so that is why the list is showing one. But if you have one more formula so that the list will start showing you other options as well. This option will not be enabled if there is no calculated field inside the pivot table. So it will only be there if there is any kind of options. So yeah. Does this make sense? Perfect. We have calculated it. Yeah, yes, Ajay, just give me a second. Let me just read the comment first. We have calculated inside the pivot table. So the data we have newly created. Yes. Good question. Since my pivot table is updating based upon any new value I'm adding to my data set. So any calculations which I am doing, that will automatically update. Obviously, you have to click on refresh pivot table, but yeah, it will automatically update. Yes, Ajay.
Can you repeat margin percentage?
Yeah, I will do
Have
that.
it.
Yeah. Ajay, can you?
Yeah, means as you said, there will be list of formulas, right, which we have added. So can we name them? For example, margin, total profit, like that.
Yeah, so we have already named it, right? Margin percentage is the formula name. That is why you are seeing it like this here.
Okay.
So when I click on, yeah, I think someone also asked the same question. I'm just showing you how you will do it again. So if you click on the calculated field, there is a name for that, right? So it will give you the name box here, which you can change. So whatever name I want to put in, I will just do it here. If you go on the drop down, it will show you all the calculated field names if you want to take the reference from there. So if I just click on the margin percentage, it will give me the formula for that. I can modify it or I can delete it also. If I want to create something from scratch, I will just make a name like ABC and I will design it. Okay.
So how can we know which formula is applied for which table?
See, if you are creating multiple formulas, you will see the list of those formulas inside the field list here, right? And whenever you will click on the pivot table, you will able to see that into the value section, like which column you are using, like basically which calculation you are using. In that way, you can understand.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think someone was asking how to create the margin percentage. So click on any of the pivot table analyzer, field item and sets, calculated field, put the name here. For example, I'm putting a name called text percentage. And then I want to calculate 0.1, which is 10% of revenue. That is how I'm calculating text. So I just do that, add. So you will start seeing text percentage. That is how you calculate. Now, if I go here, click on list formulas, it will show you both of these formulas which we have created. Yes, no, clear? Perfect.
Mane, how did you get a list formula?
Just go on, click on this, go on this here, and then list formulas. In the same box, the fourth option.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. The last part about the pivot table is slicers and the timelines. What is this slicer and timeline? Slicer is a way, or maybe timeline is also the way of filtering the data set. Now, your data can be in different format. You can have text value, you can have numerical value, you can have date. So slicer is used for any kind of data which you can have. It can be date, text, whatever. But your timeline, in the name itself, the time is there. So anything which is related to date, only that column will be considered in it. So let me again go ahead here. I will click on any of the pivot table analyzer, and then you have something called insert slicer, insert timeline. I will show you both one by one. If I click on insert slicer, you will see all the options, whatever you have. Obviously, not the calculated field, but all the columns which you have in the raw data set, even the date column. So for example, I want to apply it based upon department and region. I will click on both two. I will click on OK. You will see that there are two boxes added. On the Excel ribbon, you have the slicer. You can just change the colors and everything. Now, if I click on customer support, you will see the number is changing. If I click on South region, again, you will see the number is changing. So these kind of slicers will help you to filter the data. Obviously, you can apply the filter by putting things into the filter section also, but this is more user friendly. If someone is not aware how the pivot table will work, still they will click on this and get the things done. That is how the slicer will work. Now, what is a timeline? I will again go here, click on timeline. Only for the date column which you have, which is transaction date in this case, you will have the slicer. You will have again a box. Now, as we have discussed, that date can have 4 things: year, quarter, month, and day. Exactly the same thing you will see here. You have year, quarter, month, and day. You can just change it. Right now, you have the year and month in this. I can just change it to year so that I can apply the filter for the year. I have quarter, so I can say quarter 2 of 2023, or I can change it to month, and then I can specify month in this case. So this will again help you to apply the function, basically the filter based upon the date. If you are creating a slicer for the transaction date, then obviously you will not see the things in this manner. It will give you the list of all the distinct transaction which you have. So you have to manually choose it. For example, I want to apply a filter for quarter 1 2023. So you have to select each and every date in January, February, and March. So that is why it's going to be complicated. So that is why we use the timeline, because now I can just make it to quarter and I need 2003 quarter. So I can just select that. Otherwise, I have to select 90 dates or whatever dates in this, because quarter 1 will have January, February, and March. So based upon that, you can choose between slicer and the timeline. Any question in this? Every option, creating chart, creating slicer, creating calculated field, everything is available inside the pivot table analyzer. Always remember it. Once you will be inside this box, you will easily able to navigate. Can you see? Insert slicer, timeline, calculated field, charts, and everything. Now my slicer is created. But if I want to update my whole sheet with the same filters, for example, I click on East, my entire data should change. That will not be done in this way, because whatever pivot table you will click to insert the slicer or timeline, the filtration will be only impacted to that. You have to create the report connection so that it will be implemented to others also. So I will click on this slicer. I will go on the slicer box on the top. I have a report connection, and here you will find the name. I think someone asked this question. Here you have all the names. So you have total 10 pivot tables. You will see that 1, and after that you have 3, because if you remember that second pivot table which we have created, that was for a different data range. So that will not be connected. So each and every pivot table created on the same data source will be listed here. And now I can just click on these checkboxes so that if I change something here, it will impact. So if I click on customer support, everything will change. You can just go up and see that pivot tables are only showing customer support everywhere. Right? In the same way, you can add the report connection for that. So whatever number of slicers you will be having, you will click on that one by one, add the report connections to select each and every pivot table. Similarly, for the timelines, timeline, report connection, again, you have the same. And this is how you can connect your slicer and timeline to each and every pivot table. Is this make sense or not? Yes? Perfect. There is one thing called grouping. I can just quickly take this up. Grouping is pretty simple. For an example, I want to hide this particular part, but also not hide it, like not right click and click on the hide button. I have something called groups, which will try to add a button type of an icon here. I can show you. You can go on data and then you have group. So it will kind of add a button kind of icon. Once you click on that, it will help you to expand and collapse. So if you are doing this thing, that will call creating a groups, which will help you to expand and collapse. It's very much similar to the hide thing, but more user friendly because people will understand that, okay, there is something behind this button. They will open it and they will open to create it. So how you are doing it, you will select, let me first ungroup. So you will select those rows which you want to group and then go on data, click on group and you can group it. And that's it. If you want to ungroup it, again, you will select the whole thing and click on ungroup. So that is how the group will be done. Okay. Is this clear or not? Okay. Pramesh is saying, can we name? Yes, you can name the pivot table. Select the pivot table, right click, go on pivot table option, and then you have the names here. Pivot table 2. You can just change it if it is required. Why do we need to group? Groups we generally do if we want to temporarily hide something from the report. I want that this thing should be hidden, but not entirely. If anybody wants to go into the details, they can open. Otherwise, they can keep it closed. So for all of these kind of options, we create the groups. That is the only use case. If you just go back and look into that dashboard which I have showed you, can you see here? My charts are created based on the pivot table. But I don't want that pivot table to be visible because that is the same information but in the table format. But maybe some people want to see exact number, so they can just open it, read the information. Otherwise, I will keep it closed. Okay, so this is also done by the groups. Okay, perfect. So with this, our entire discussion regarding the pivot table is done. These two things, if you want to try, you can do it. Otherwise, just the basic thing, how to create groups regarding months or years, something. But our pivot table discussion is done. I know that we are left with some topic from the last class. Don't worry about that. Whenever we will be having the next class, I will cover that up. I have a note on that.
Manya,
Yeah.
I have a doubt. Can you just repeat the connecting the tables in Slicer?
Okay. Just give me a second. I do. I done everything in the read-only version. Oh, thank God. Yeah. So, what is your doubt? Like how to connect it or something?
Yeah, I mean, just a navigation, and
Okay.
I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So, so the slicer, this and all will like this is not for you, just for everyone. Anything which you want to specifically do for slicer, for timeline, for pivot table, always make sure you are inside that box. Like if I click here and then I will think that how I will do the slicer, no. You have to first click on the slicer and then you will have the option. You will first click on the pivot table, then you have that option. You will first click on the chart and then you will have that option. So these things, which is the adding based upon the element you are using, that will only be active once you click on that. Okay, perfect. So that's pretty much it from my side. I have few updates for you. First is the next class is going to be related to the Google Sheet. So there is a different trainer who will be take the Google Sheet classes. So there will be no class for me next weekend. So there will be a different trainer who will come and take your Google Sheet class. I think the class will be for one day, and one day will be given to you as an off, because we have covered a lot of content so far, which I want you guys to work on. So that is the first update. So I think Saturday there will be one class regarding Google Sheet and Sunday will be off. But in that off time, what I want from you guys is that I will be make this project 2 live regarding the manufacturing data set. It's going to be related to all the if function and text function, error functions and all of that. Just try to at least try to read and understand how this will work. So there will be one data set provided to you, and there will be some steps mentioned there. So it will have all those topics, whatever you have learned so far. Pivot tables will not be there, but yeah, whatever from the day 1 till day 6 of the class you have learned. Okay. Also, try to work on the pivot table practice, because when we will meet next weekend, which will be on I think 11th, then we will be working on the dashboarding, which is going to be the crux of all the Excel thing which we have learned so far. So pivot table, slicer should be very much clear till that time. Okay. Any question on this? I think Priyanka, I missed your question. Yeah, margin percentage will get updated when the raw data updated. I think we have already covered it. Cool. So I think that's pretty much it from my side. I will share all the content in the WhatsApp group, and you guys can just revise and start working on the project too. And please submit your project one also. I will start reviewing it by the end of the day. Like I will start the review in the evening. So submit it as soon as possible. Okay, if you don't have any question, thank you so much for joining in. I will see you next Saturday.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Manu.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Enjoy your Sunday. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.